Seven musilalim, lale lale, seven musilalim. Bado mapamalo, bado mapamalo.
Welcome to Sud Academy in Nairobi, Kenya. This is a school that celebrates the culture and people of Southern Sudan. Most students are refugees who have chosen to brave life in the city of Nairobi so that they can get an education and an opportunity to do something with their life. Until this year, Sud Academy did not have a Form 4 or grade 12 class. This is because Sud Academy lacked the proper facilities to teach biology, physics, and chemistry. Without these classes under their belts, hopeful graduates would not be able to pass the national exams required in order to graduate in Kenya. With the help of my mom, I've been able to fulfill the promise I made to the grade 12 class last year. I told them that no matter what the obstacle, we would eventually establish a grade 12 class for this Sudanese community. More importantly, and thanks to donations like yours, what we're doing is helping these students gain the tools they need to return to their desperately poor homeland and start changing the course of that country's history. While my journey with Sud Academy began over 2 years ago, this update starts with my 2010 project of sorting out the grade 12 dilemma. The first thing I did when I arrived in February was purchase a new set of Form 4 textbooks. Then, the grade 12 students told me that their classroom was so hot and often reached over 100 degrees in the afternoon sun that they couldn't really study effectively. So, I stretched the budget to reconstruct 2 smaller rooms into a bright, airy, and cool classroom that is now the envy of the entire student body. Next up came the quick but expensive registration for the national exams, which the 22 grade 12 students will practice for and write at this neighboring school. And finally, it was time to build Sud Academy's very own science lab. Placed at the back of the school where students often hang out and play sports, it began with digging a hole for the foundation. Next came laying bricks and stones that created a level foundation for the building. Then, the shipping container that will provide the frame for the lab arrived. It was quite a struggle to lift it over the bordering bushes, but after the contractor, in Sud's very own principle, chopped some down, the container was adjusted, set in place, and ready for its final makeover. Using this kind of a container also means that our lab is a portable and sustainable investment. First off, they cut and installed the doors and windows and began working on the roof. Then when the roof was finished, they lined the walls and ceiling with plywood so that the lab looks good and feels cool at the same time. Then came the cabinets, workbenches, shelving, and paint. An engineer came to install special lab sinks and taps for running water and a proper disposal system for the lab's hazardous waste. The contractor and I also measured the area for custom-built tall but skinny lab stools that fit perfectly into our small space. And finally, we spent a lot of time purchasing, sorting, and delivering a full set of lab equipment and apparatus that is now ready for the students to use. While the lab has taken months to plan and build, the students are beyond excited to begin learning and preparing for their futures. I'd like to thank the major sponsors of tonight's event, Salon Entre Nous and L'Oréal Professionnel, as well as all other sponsors and those in attendance. Your participation and donations from tonight's event have directly contributed to these students' education. It truly does take a whole village to raise a child, and we're all part of the same world. Finally, I'd like to say a big thanks to my mother, Susan, who's worked selflessly and tirelessly for my projects and these students. Mom, your efforts will not be forgotten by these students or myself. And to everybody, have a great night of fashion.